It's May 2025, and Donald Trump is doubling down on a shocking plan to seize Greenland, the world's largest island. What once seemed like a far-fetched idea during his presidency has now escalated into a full-blown geopolitical crisis. From proposing a socio real estate deal in 2019, one that the world initially dismissed as satire, to now refusing to rule out military force. Trump's obsession with this remote Arctic territory has evolved into a dramatic international flashpoint. What began as a controversial offer is now being interpreted by many global leaders as a threat to international stability and Arctic sovereignty. Trump's repeated statements have sparked global outrage. Diplomats are issuing urgent warnings. News headlines around the world carry words like imperialism, provocation, and dangerous escalation. For Denmark, which oversees Greenland, the idea is not just unrealistic. It's deeply offensive. Officials in Copenhagen have called the move unacceptable, denouncing it as a violation of modern diplomatic norms. Greenland's leaders, meanwhile, are standing firm. "We're not for sale," they declared publicly, reaffirming the island's commitment to autonomy, indigenous rights, and environmental preservation. To them, Trump's push is more than a political maneuver. It's a challenge to their national dignity and a relic of colonial thinking. So, why is Trump so fixated? Is this simply another stunt to dominate the headlines? Or is there something deeper? Could this be about raw power, untapped natural resources, or a strategic move to outmaneuver China and Russia in the race for Arctic influence? Join us as we unravel the tangled web of motives behind Trump's most audacious geopolitical move, yet from economic ambition to military projection, and explore how this bold plan could alter alliances, challenge old norms, and reshape the global order in ways no one saw coming. Stay tuned, because the truth behind Trump's Greenland obsession may be far more calculated and far more consequential than just a frozen island. It's a geopolitical goldmine, a territory of immense strategic value that is becoming more and more central in the global power struggle. Positioned precisely between North America and Europe, it sits at the gateway to the Arctic, an area that is increasingly viewed as the new frontier for military and economic influence in the 21st century. This geopolitical positioning is what makes Greenland such a coveted prize. In recent years, the Arctic has transformed into a critical arena where the world's major superpowers are vying for control. With melting ice and climate change exposing previously inaccessible areas, Greenland's not just a frozen island anymore. It is now a key geopolitical asset for anyone seeking to dominate the Northern Hemisphere. This region, with its vital air routes, underwater mineral deposits, and proximity to global shipping lanes, is emerging as a military and economic battleground. The U.S. already has a foothold in Greenland with its Thule Air Base, one of the most important and strategic American military installations in the region. Located at the island's northern tip, Thule serves as a critical radar station for monitoring missile launches and playing a pivotal role in America's missile defense system. The base has been operational since the Cold War, but today it holds even more significance as a watchtower against growing threats from Russia and China in the Arctic. While this presence is substantial, ownership of Greenland outright would shift the balance, providing the U.S. with unparalleled military leverage over the entire Arctic region and access to new geopolitical terrain that could redefine global alliances and defense strategies. But this isn't an entirely new idea. The United States has long recognized the strategic importance of Greenland. In 1946, in the aftermath of World War II, the U.S. offered Denmark $100 million to buy the island, signaling America's early recognition of its strategic importance. While that offer was ultimately rejected, it set a historical precedent for U.S. interest in the island. Fast forward to today, and the climate crisis has changed the stakes even further. As the Arctic ice sheet rapidly melts, new sea routes are opening, slashing the distances for shipping between North America, Europe, and Asia. These new trade routes could revolutionize global commerce, making them a prized asset for countries seeking to dominate the global economy. Natural resources, including rare earth minerals, oil, and gas, are also becoming accessible in the region, further elevating Greenland's status on the global stage. With Russia and China already stepping up their presence in the Arctic, their growing influence in the region could alter the balance of power. Russia has reopened Soviet-era military bases along its northern coast, and China, declaring itself a near-Arctic state, has begun investing heavily in polar infrastructure, including icebreakers and research stations. If these powers continue to expand their military and economic footprint, the United States risks losing its dominant position in the Arctic, which could have dire implications for its military security and economic interests. Trump's push to seize Greenland is, in many ways, a preemptive strike, an effort to secure American control of this new geopolitical frontier before Russia or China can fully consolidate their presence. Owning Greenland for the U.S. would mean more than just a military asset. It would mean commanding the high ground in the Arctic, a critical advantage in a region that is set to become increasingly important in the coming decades. In the broader scheme of global competition, this move could mark the start of a new arms race, where control over the Arctic is as much about national security as it is about economic. It isn't just a military outpost. It's also a goldmine for natural resources, offering a wealth of untapped economic potential. Beneath its icy surface lies an abundance of rare earth minerals, which are vital for the production of everything from smartphones, electric vehicles, and renewable energy technologies to advanced weapons systems. These minerals are at the heart of modern technology, playing a crucial role in industries that drive the future of global economies and national security. Currently, China dominates the global supply of these rare earth minerals, controlling over 80% of the market. This control gives China significant leverage over the world's industrialized nations, as rare earths are needed for everything from consumer electronics to military equipment. The heavy reliance on Chinese-controlled supply chains has led to growing concerns in the West about economic vulnerability and the geopolitical risks of such dependency. Greenland's vast mineral reserves, however, present a game-changing opportunity. Among the most significant mineral deposits are those in the Kvanefjeld region, which is believed to hold over 11 million tons of rare earth. These reserves could revolutionize the global supply chain, providing a stable and secure source of rare earths, potentially altering the balance of power in the mineral market. If Greenland's resources are fully developed, it could significantly reduce Western nations' reliance on China, creating an alternative supply hub for the materials essential to modern industries. For the United States, Greenland's mineral wealth represents a unique opportunity to reclaim control over critical resources and move towards economic independence. Trump's administration, which was marked by a staunch focus on national industrial revitalization and the America First agenda, saw Greenland as a way to break free from Chinese dominance in the rare earth sector. Trump's interest in Greenland fits into his broader vision of economic sovereignty, where the U.S. would no longer be dependent on foreign suppliers for the resources that drive its economy and technological advancement. In 2019, Trump famously framed the idea of acquiring Greenland as a real estate deal, suggesting that the U.S. would be purchasing the land outright in a way similar to acquiring a valuable property. But beneath the surface of this business-like approach lies a deeper layer of national security interests. In a world where technology and military capabilities are increasingly driven by rare earth minerals, Greenland's strategic value is undeniable. The acquisition of the island would not only bolster U.S. economic power, but also provide a key piece in the global chess game against China and other rising powers. Trump's push for Greenland, seen through the lens of economic nationalism, isn't simply about acquiring land. It's about securing America's future in a rapidly changing world. The development of Greenland's rare earth reserves could fuel U.S. industries, lower costs for production of essential goods, and enhance military capabilities. More importantly, it would break the Chinese monopoly on these critical resources, shifting the geopolitical power dynamics and ensuring that the U.S. remains at the top of the global supply chain. For the Trump administration, Greenland's mineral wealth was more than just an economic jackpot. It was also a tool for national security. By acquiring Greenland, the U.S. could not only secure a reliable supply of rare earths, but also counter China's growing influence in the Arctic and the global economy. For Trump, it was a win-win situation. Not only would the U.S. gain access to resources that are fundamental to the future of technology, but it would also position itself as the dominant force in the global mineral market, reducing dependence on adversarial powers and ensuring its economic and technological security for years is rapidly evolving into a geopolitical battleground. As the polar ice caps continue to melt due to climate change, new shipping routes are opening up, and natural resources including oil, gas, and minerals are becoming more accessible. This has prompted a power struggle between global superpowers, each eager to assert dominance over this strategically significant region. Russia, which has long seen the Arctic as a vital area for its security and economic interests, has dramatically increased its military presence in recent years. The country has reopened more than 50 Soviet-Tyran military bases along its Arctic coastline and is actively deploying advanced missile systems, radar stations, and nuclear-powered icebreakers to assert its control over the region. Russia's activities in the Arctic are part of a broader effort to ensure its dominance over the northern sea routes and vast resource reserves, which are expected to become more accessible as the ice melts. At the same time, China, despite having no direct territorial claims in the Arctic, has declared itself a near-Arctic state and is positioning itself as a major player in the region. China's Belt and Road Initiative has extended to the Arctic, with significant investments in infrastructure, projects, and the development of shipping lanes. China's ambition to establish polar research stations, build deep-water ports, and secure access to Arctic resources shows how it is leveraging its economic influence to gain a foothold in one of the world's most strategically important regions. While Greenland remains under Danish sovereignty, the island has increasingly been charting its own course toward greater autonomy. Over the past decade, Greenland's leaders have been exploring avenues for full independence, driven by a desire to secure economic benefits from its vast natural resources and control over its political future. As Greenland seeks to diversify its economy, Chinese investments have become more prominent, with Beijing offering financial backing for infrastructure projects and the development of Arctic shipping routes. This growing Chinese presence in Greenland has raised alarms in the U.S., as a closer alignment between Greenland and China or even Russia would dramatically shift the balance of power in the Arctic. With both China and Russia ramping up their influence in the region, the U.S. risks losing its foothold in an area critical for military strategy, global shipping routes, and access to resources that are vital to national security. For the U.S., Greenland is not just a piece of real estate, it is a key strategic asset that could determine the balance of power in the Arctic for generations to come. Trump's proposal to purchase Greenland was, in essence, a preemptive move to prevent the island from falling under the influence of rival powers. The idea was not merely about territorial expansion or economic gain. It was a strategic denial of Greenland's potential alignment with China or Russia. For Washington, the Arctic represents a critical military frontier, with the ability to control access to vital sea lanes, maintain early warning radar systems, and project power across the Northern Hemisphere. If Greenland were to fall under the control or influence of adversarial powers, the U.S. would be at a significant geopolitical disadvantage in the Arctic. In this context, Trump's efforts to secure Greenland reflect a broader strategy of containing rival powers and ensuring that the U.S. maintains control over key strategic regions. While the Arctic's resources are increasingly valuable, the real prize is its geopolitical significance. Controlling the region means controlling the future of global shipping, energy resources, and the ability to project military power in a rapidly changing world order. For the Trump administration, securing Greenland was not simply about expansion or territory, it was about ensuring that the U.S. remains the dominant power in the Arctic, blocking any efforts by China, Russia, or any other competitor from gaining a foothold in this vital region. As global competition for the Arctic's resources intensifies, the struggle for Greenland will likely play a pivotal role in shaping the future of international relations and global. The apparent strategic logic behind Donald Trump's proposal to acquire Greenland. The suggestion triggered a wave of criticism and controversy both domestically and internationally. At the heart of the backlash was the perception that this was not just a diplomatic maneuver, but a glaring attempt at neocolonialism, a move reminiscent of historical practices, where powerful countries sought to annex or control weaker territories for their own gain. Greenland's population, which is only about 56,000 people, is primarily composed of indigenous Inuit communities. For them, Trump's proposal was not just a political or economic issue, it was a deeply personal affront. The idea that their land could be treated as a commodity, to be bought and sold, felt like an assault on their identity and their right to Greenland has long had a history of colonial exploitation, first by Denmark and later by various external powers. And for many in Greenland, this proposal was a painful reminder of that history. In response, Greenland's leaders were clear and unequivocal. They stated, "We're not for sale." This statement was not just about rejecting Trump's offer, but about asserting their sovereignty and their autonomous future. For Greenland's Inuit population, the idea of being treated as a pawn in a larger geopolitical game was an unexpected violation of their self-respect and their vision for an independent and self-sustaining future. They view their relationship with Denmark as one based on mutual respect and partnership, not one in which Greenland is merely a possession or a means to an end. The debate also touches on the broader global conversation about the rights of indigenous peoples and their place in the modern world order. In a time when issues of sovereignty, cultural preservation, and self-determination are becoming central to international discourse, the suggestion of selling Greenland felt like a step backward. The proposal ignored not only the moral and ethical concerns of Greenland's indigenous population, but also the legal implications surrounding their rights and autonomy. The backlash also came from Denmark, the sovereign state that currently governs Greenland. Danish officials were outraged by Trump's suggestion, calling it absurd and offensive. Denmark's deep historical ties to Greenland, which has been a Danish territory since 1721, added another layer of complexity to the situation. The proposal to sell Greenland raised issues of international relations, sovereignty, and historical legacy questions that cannot be ignored in a modern global context. For Denmark, Greenland is not just a piece of land, it is part of the nation's cultural heritage, and any discussion about its future must involve consultation with Greenland's leaders and respect for the people living there. The idea that Greenland could simply be bought and sold as a real estate deal disregarded the deep ties between the two nations and the complex history that shaped their relationship. Moreover, Denmark, as a member of international organizations such as the European Union, is deeply invested in upholding international norms regarding territorial integrity and self. In this context, Trump's suggestion raised significant legal and ethical questions. Can a country, especially one with such a rich and independent history, be bought in the modern era? Does the economic potential of a territory justify its acquisition by a foreign power, particularly in the absence of democratic consent from its people? Trump's proposal raised more than just questions about sovereignty in international law. It touched on fundamental ethical issues that are central to modern geopolitics. In the 21st century, the notion of buying and selling a nation is widely seen as outdated and unacceptable. The international community has moved toward a consensus that sovereignty and self-determination are non-negotiable principles that must be respected. This controversy underscored the disconnect between Trump's transactional view of international relations, where territories are treated as assets to be acquired, and the contemporary norms that emphasize mutual respect, cooperation, and diplomatic engagement. For many, the notion that a nation could simply be purchased with a financial offer was an affront to the dignity and autonomy of the people living there. It suggested that a nation's value is determined solely by its economic potential, rather than by the historical ties, cultural heritage, and individual rights of its people. The proposal also raised uncomfortable questions about the relationship between power and territory in the modern world. As nations continue to grapple with the complexities of globalization, resource competition, and military influence, the idea of acquiring a territory through a mere financial transaction felt like a throwback to an earlier, more imperialistic era time, when powerful countries felt they could simply claim the land and resources of others, without regard for the people who live there. In the end, the controversy over Trump's Greenland proposal was not just about a piece of land or the economic opportunities it represented. It was about respect for sovereignty, human dignity, and the right of nations and peoples to determine their own future without the interference of foreign powers. The backlash reflected a broader global movement towards more inclusive, ethical, and just approaches to international relations, one that values the consent and voices of the people who are directly impacted by such. Why does Donald Trump want to steal Greenland? The answer is far more complex than merely a desire to control a chunk of icy land. This proposal touches on the heart of global geopolitics and is part of a larger geostrategic vision. In a world where climate change is dramatically shifting the planet's ecosystems and boundaries, Greenland has emerged as a critical strategic asset, one that could shape the future of global power in ways that were once unthinkable. It's not just about ice and snow, it's about resources and military dominance. In the Arctic, borders are becoming increasingly fluid as the melting ice opens up new shipping routes and the mineral wealth beneath the frozen landscape becomes more accessible. This newfound geopolitical importance makes Greenland a linchpin in securing America's influence in a region where power dynamics are rapidly evolving. For decades, Greenland has played a crucial role in America's defense system, particularly through Thule Air Base, which provides early warning radar capabilities and supports missile defense systems. The base serves as a strategic asset that allows the U.S. to monitor and respond to military threats from both Russia and China. But owning the island outright would allow the U.S. to expand its military presence, project power over the Arctic, and control critical maritime routes that are becoming increasingly important as climate change accelerates. The military implications of Trump's proposed acquisition are significant, with increasing Russian militarization of the Arctic and China's growing interest in polar infrastructure. The U.S. risks losing its strategic foothold in a region that is set to become more vital in the coming decades. In this context, Trump's proposal might seem like a move to maintain U.S. supremacy in a world that is increasingly being defined by competition over resources, influence, and military capabilities. As the world continues to warm, the Arctic is quickly becoming the next great frontier of global competition. It's no longer just about biodiversity or environmental concerns. The Arctic is now a battleground for economic dominance and military control. The region contains vast untapped resources, including oil, gas, and rare earth minerals, that are becoming more accessible as the ice recedes. Moreover, the new shipping lanes opening up through the Arctic could revolutionize global trade routes, shortening distances between Europe, Asia, and North America. This shift in the global power balance means that every major power is positioning itself to claim a stake in the Arctic. Russia has already made substantial moves by reopening Soviet-era military bases and deploying advanced missile systems. China, though lacking any direct territorial claims, has invested billions into polar research and infrastructure, positioning itself as a near-Arctic state with growing influence. In this rapidly changing environment, Greenland becomes not just an asset, but a keystone in determining which superpower will dominate the region. Trump's move to acquire Greenland may seem, to some, like a reckless overreach. The idea of buying a country, particularly one with such significant autonomy, seems absurd to many, especially given the international norms of the modern era. But the proposal is not simply a land grab. It reflects a broader geopolitical reality. In an era where the global order is being reshaped by forces like climate change and the rise of new superpowers, Trump's strategy might be seen as an attempt to secure America's future dominance in a region that will only grow more important in the coming decades. The controversy surrounding the proposal also underscores the ethical dilemmas that come with a changing global landscape. As countries vie for control over resource-rich territories, questions of sovereignty, self-determination, and colonialism loom large. Greenland's own future and identity are at stake, and it remains to be seen whether its leaders will continue to seek full independence or if they will align themselves with a foreign power. Ultimately, the real question behind this controversial bid is, will America lead, or will it fall behind in the Arctic race? The world is shifting, and the Arctic is no longer a distant and remote region. It is at the center of geopolitical competition. As the U.S. faces challenges from both Russia and China, its role in the Arctic will play a crucial part in determining its future position in the world. The question is whether Trump's vision for Greenland is a bold strategic move or an attempt to assert dominance in an increasingly contested region. So, what do you think about Trump's proposal? Is it a bold strategy, or is it just a reckless overreach in a world that is changing rapidly? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to Depth for more deep dives into the global forces that are reshaping our world. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.